This is Claire. She's an 11th grader running a Christian keychain business, and in just 4 months, she's already made over $900. But here's the problem: Claire's business could be bigger, way bigger. Today, we'll break down the steps to take Claire from a side hustle to a thriving business. Let's get into it. The business is just a few months old. I think it's just 4 months old. How much revenue have you done?
I have around $974 in revenue for the first 4 months.
Okay, wow. So in 4 months, almost $1,000. Any sense for how profitable that was?
I have a little over an 80% profit margin per keychain.
So Claire, who's your typical customer?
My typical customer are Christians, and right now I'm having a lot of people buy them for graduation gifts. But prior to that, it was mainly middle-aged Christians.
And how do they find you?
They either find me through the boutique or Instagram, or I've actually had a lot of just from word of mouth sales.
Can you say more about the boutique? What boutique are they finding you in?
I currently am marketing them in Tia's Boutique in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. They're a Christian-based boutique.
All right. So what exactly are you selling? Can you describe the product to us?
Yeah, so I actually have one right here. It's just keychains like this, and you tap your phone to it, and it gives you a new Bible verse. So it's to target the Christians who want to spend more time in God's Word, but struggle to find the time, and they're always on the go.
And so walk me through, how much do you charge per customer?
So for my website, I charge $12.99 per keychain, and that has economy shipping included. And then I have limited edition ones for like Easter and holidays, and those ones are $13.99.
Okay, so there's no difference outside of if it's for a special event based on size, based on the capability. It's either $12.99 or $13.99. Is that right?
Yeah, unless it's wholesale.
Okay. And if it's wholesale, what do you go for? So what do you sell to Tias?
I do 40% off, so $7.80.
All right. What's your biggest cost in delivering the product?
The shipping cost is just the biggest one. It varies on how many keychains, but it averages at around $1 to $2 per keychain.
So it's $1 to $2 for the shipping, and you said a 80% margin. So that 20%, that's just the raw cost of digital printing.
Yeah, so it cost me $1.41 to make and produce each keychain, and the average shipping cost is around $1. Sometimes it's a little bit more. It depends on how many keychains are in each order.
Could you handle 10 times more customers if you got them?
I think I definitely could. I'd have to invest in another 3D printer, but I'd be totally willing to do that.
What do you think the business could realistically earn in the next 1 to 3 years?
I think by the third year, I could get to around 80,000 in revenue per year.
What's your dream for the business?
I want to be able to grow it so it's selling around 1,000 keychains a month. If I sell 1,000 keychains a month, I'll be making $155,000 in revenue.
Did school teach you how to build this business?
I took the business classes in school and they taught me the concept of it, but I never quite learned the practical side of it. Like they teach you like what a business is and stuff, but I never learned the practical side. But the journey definitely taught me the practical side and how to put what you learn into action.
And what do you think school lacks?
I just think school lacks the actually making you do this stuff. Like you learn and you do like fake little projects. But I think we need more real projects and teach you how to start the simple things. Like you can do print on demand and stuff. You could do that in school. And it'd be a great way to teach someone how to manage business in school.
All right, Claire. So thank you for all of that. Unbelievable 1K in 4 months. So now we're going to think about how to 10x that in the next 12 months. So does that sound like something you want to do?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So I've been just taking notes. You said you wanted to do 80K in the next 3 years. So I love the ambition. What I've tried to do is, just as I was writing down my notes, think about things that could be high impact and hopefully low cost, whether that's cost in terms of your time or cost in terms of just pure effort, right? And so some of this you're already doing, and some of this you might be able to do. So the first was partnering with churches. And I think you've already done this, at least in a couple of instances. Is that right?
sold to people at churches, like different pastors, but I would love to partner with churches. I've only ever partnered with Tia's Boutique.
I think the other thing you could do with churches is see if you could just get time to speak to their congregation, you know, like at the end of a session, right? And just say like, "Hey, I built this thing. I'd love to just show everybody here." And then you just show them how easy it is, right? And then, just set up a table outside afterwards, and I bet you'll just be collecting orders. Every founder we speak to has received a $1,000 Formidable Fellowship grant. It's not equity, it's not debt, just a bit of inspiration capital to say keep doing what you're doing. If you're a student entrepreneur, we'd love to support you too. Just visit formidablefellowship.org to apply for a grant. It takes less than 5 minutes. And if you believe in empowering young builders, consider supporting our mission. All contributions are tax deductible. Now on to the conversation. I think the other one, and these are all things I think you're already doing, but I think it's like, going and emphasizing this, which is uh, like really focusing on the gifting element, right? Because the thing there is that gifting has this really high emotional value and there's a deadline associated with it, right? So when it's, hey, just get closer to the Bible, right? Like that's something you can sort of push off, right? There's not necessarily urgency. Like, do I need to buy that today or could I wait 2 weeks? Could I wait a few weeks to do it? And then by then, your risk is that people forget, right? But now if there's an event, right? Think of like baptisms, confirmations. I was just writing stuff down, first communions, graduations, right? Now all of these are religiously tied events that you need to get the gift prior to that event, right? And so the more you can target, and then you have kind of things like Christmas and Easter, obviously, that are big events every year. Um, Tying it to gifts, one, you can probably also charge more because it is this sort of special, and I think you're already doing that. You're charging one more dollar. Is that right?
Yeah, for my Easter collection, it's $1 more.
Okay. So, think about, a communion gift or something that's like very, very personally significant to somebody, right? Like that one you might even be able to charge more for. Maybe you have to do something a little bit different in the offering itself, but that could be incredibly high margin. It's incredibly meaningful to somebody. And it's like something now that they'll look back on and say, like, oh, I received this at this particular event. So I think gifting is like another really big area that you can attack and that there's a lot of opportunity in for high margin sales and lots of them because there's an urgency around purchasing before that event.
I definitely agree with that.
All right. So then the other thing, and I was just Googling for this before we got on this, is that there's actually really large church and religious sort of conferences, right, and events. And so those, it'll be a little bit higher effort and cost because you might have to buy a booth or something, but there's lots of people who come to those that are looking for things to, to bring into their life that are religious and that are Christian in nature, right? And there's a lot of people from churches and other religious groups and institutions that are there. That would be another, I think, really, again, you have some expense up front, but like that's in one place. It's like you're kind of shooting fish in a barrel, right? Like they're all there at this one moment. And so instead of you having to go one by one, you have all of them congregated and aggregated in one place, right? And so you have a warm audience there, right? Because they're all by coming to a Christian faith-based conference, they already care about that. And then you can actually demo the product, right? Because I think that's the other thing about your product is that when somebody sees it, that's when it like the light bulb goes off, right? When they see like, oh, you just tap it on the phone and I get a Bible verse, and then every day I get that, right? Like that's super compelling. So you have this combination of warm audience plus really demoable atmosphere that could be really interesting. Now you just got to figure out where the right events are and are they close. So the other thing with these church events and these conferences is that you should not be shy about asking for a free booth. They might not give you the booth in the center of the floor, but as a high school entrepreneur who's faith-based, who's sort of very mission aligned, like, there's so much about your story that they'll like, that you might even be able to finagle a free booth. Worst case is you might get free admission, and then you just bring a bunch of these and go up to people and just start talking to them about it, right? Like, your product is so demoable that even if you don't have the booth, you could probably still make a ton of sales by finding who's there and networking with them. So, I think the Christian-based conferences is another really, really big opportunity, and that might be the way to get into lots of churches, um, all in one shot. If you can get a few churches before you go there, you can use them as references as well. So you can say, hey, we work with ABC Church and XYZ Church, and then that'll be more what we call social proof, so that other churches feel like, oh, Claire already works with other really legitimate churches. Like, this business is good. I can work with her too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I think the next one is an affiliate program. You familiar with affiliate programs?
Yes.
Okay. So again, like, not a world that I know, but before we got on, I looked at just, Christian influencers, right? And so there's lots of them on social, right? And so can you partner with an influencer and again give them a cut of any sales that they bring, right? And so they're going to drive people to your website, to your Shopify store, and the commission might be 10 or 20%. You're going to have to figure out what's compelling for them, and that might vary based on how big they are, right? Somebody who has a really big audience and has lots of opportunities might ask for a higher percentage. Somebody who's smaller might need less. You might actually want to start with some smaller influencers, see how that goes, and then you work your way up. But, then the beauty of it is that you have somebody that's already trusted in the community who's advocating for your product. And so that builds an immense amount of credibility, and you're basically getting to sort of use their audience to grow your business. Again, I think leaning into your story of I'm a junior in high school who's built this mission-based business is like a remarkable asset. And you only have, I guess you're getting close to the end of junior year. You got one more year where you can really, really use that. So you want to milk that for as much as you can.
Do you know if Shopify has affiliate program built in, or would I have to do that manually?
Yeah, so Shopify has its own affiliate kind of enablement within the platform, and then there's lots of like what are called third-party applications that are built in. So I think a few that I at least have heard of, like there's Everflow, Lead Dino, Up Promote are three, but there's probably hundreds potentially that do this. But the good news is that either Shopify or these others, you can probably, with the flip of a switch, turn it on your platform. It might cost something in some cases, but yeah, like you don't have to manage this manually if you decide you don't want to. So Claire, those were kind of four ideas for you to grow the business. I'm curious, did any of those jump out? You're doing some of them already, but which one was most interesting?
I think going to the conferences was the most interesting because it sounds like a lot of fun. It'd be a great experience, and I'd be building my business while doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing there also is that if you can sell 50 to 100 units at an event, right, which I think is pretty reasonable, um, and then you can do multiple of those events, and maybe you get a couple of churches who then, you know, sign on to become customers for their entire parish or, their entire congregation. Those could be really, really impactful. So, and again, I do think you can probably finagle your way into a free booth, just given your age and what you're doing.
Sounds like a lot of fun, and I definitely think I need to play into my age and my story.
Yeah, it's a superpower that has a limited shelf life, but it is certainly a superpower. Any other questions about any of the others?
Just had a general question for you. What's like something that most first time like business owners and founders waste the most time or money on?
So the thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs waste time on is they try to do too many things at once, right? And so usually that comes in the form of marketing, right? They're going to have a website, they're going to do TikTok, they're going to do Instagram, they're going to try to have a newsletter. And what you end up doing, especially when it's just one person or maybe even two of you, is that you fragment your energy over lots of things. And what ends up happening is you don't actually do anything really well. You just kind of end up doing everything mediocre, right? And so what you want to do is find the thing that works and then milk the heck out of that until it stops working, right? And when you're early in the business, like, that channel could work for a really long time, right? And so for you, whatever that is, if it's selling into boutiques that then are, resellers of what you do, if that is a thing that is working really well, or if it's people coming direct because they really love the product and there's word of mouth, like find ways to tap into that versus trying to do 20 things. So I think that's probably the number one. And then the second, just to give you another, is which I don't think you have, is sometimes folks don't really understand the economics of their business, right? And so they're moving really, really fast, and then when you actually do the math, they're actually making less than minimum wage, right? Because, like, they didn't actually think about the costs and the input, and they didn't put value on their time, and so I'd say, like, that's the other thing. You don't wanna, um, build a business that is ultimately you're sort of working for less than you'd make, if you're working for somebody else. Like, that's not what you want in a business. So those are probably the 2 big things I observe, not just in young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes.
Good to know.
So Claire, if somebody wants one of these keychains, where do they go to find you?
My website is dailybreadtap.com, and my Instagram's just dailybreadtap.
Okay, amazing. We'll leave those in the show notes. Congrats on what you built, Claire. It's a really cool product and amazing that you're almost at $1,000 in just 4 months. This could get really big.